Hey, everybody, this is Cliff Day from O2 Armor, Concealed Filtration, and you are listening to the Builder Sessions.
Welcome to the Builder Sessions, a podcast where we chat with your favorite builders.
We get to know them, their stories, and hopefully inspire you to get off the couch and build something cool. I'm Hoff.
And I'm Rosie. And on this episode, we talk with Cliff Day from O2 Armor, Concealed Nasal Filtration. We chat about how the company began, the importance of respiratory filtration. We share our own personal experiences with the product. And we talk about how shooting for excellence in everything beats shooting for perfection.
Please enjoy the review with Cliff.
Hey everybody, Rosie here. Before we get to the interview, I need to let you know that Cliff is generously offering Builder Sessions listeners 10% off at o2armor.com. All you need to do is use the code BUILDERS10 at checkout, and you get 10% off your entire order. These things are game changers, guys. Go try them out. Big thanks to Cliff and the whole O2 Armor team for the discount code. Again, that's code BUILDERS10 at checkout at o2armor.com. Enjoy the show. Cliff, thanks for coming on the Builder Sessions.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, guys. Appreciate it.
So, for those of for our listeners who aren't aware of yourself or O2 Armor, maybe talk a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll get into the product. So, what's your background? How'd you start the company? Was there a need in your personal life you saw that you needed to develop these things? What's your background? All that awesome stuff.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on board. And just to explain to your audience that they haven't heard of us, O2 Armor is a little nasal dilator that fits inside your nostrils and has a filter material that blocks out much of the dust, pollen, smoke, and crud you might breathe in the air. So, all you tradespeople, the welders and woodworkers and people in any dusty environment like agriculture, the thing, if you're wearing them and you're breathing through your nose, they're going to cut down a lot of the crud you breathe. And so my background is I was in the U.S. Air Force, a pilot in the Air Force for 12 years, and I'm currently an airline pilot with a major company in the U.S. And we have a mandatory retirement age of 65. And several years ago, and I've always wanted to be an enterprise, and I was also a safety officer, accident investigator. So safety has always been kind of a culture in my family. My grandfather was military, and he was a safety guy. My dad, and I kind of told you earlier when we were talking earlier that he brought home foam earplugs 45 years ago when they first started coming out, and we had to wear them as a kid. So, just kind of safety has always been kind of my thing. And a few years ago, I'm thinking about the future and what am I going to do after I get out? I'm done flying, and kind of what I want to be doing in my retirement years. Let's put that in air quotes because it sort of isn't. Anyway, so I have a friend who's a marketing guy, and so he says, "Hey, come by. I've got a bunch of stuff you might want to be thinking about." And so we went over. My wife Amy and our friend Fareed went over there and looked at all these things he had that some projects he had that he was working on, and other things that were kind of dead. And this little nose filter thing was one of the products that had failed in the marketplace. The previous people, who knows what happened? They just didn't. It was kind of before Instagram and social media marketing, so they really couldn't connect with anybody, and it eventually just kind of petered out. And Dan was had the rights to sell it, but he didn't know what to do with it. And so I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And about a year later, we go to church together, and I'm sitting in the pew and, kind of daydreaming a little bit because the preacher's kind of droning on a little bit, and Dan's in the band I'm looking at Dan, and I'm looking at go, I wonder what these things would be like at the gun range for like dust, the lead dust, because, I've been reading about these guys at the range, and they're shooting, and it's like they get lead poisoning and stuff. And I'm like,
wow. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just from the smoke and stuff from the cordite and dust from cleaning up and whatnot. And I told him afterwards, and he goes, "Man, that's a great idea." And that basically was like throwing starting a flame on the whole thing, because this was a dead product. So he's like, "That sounds great." And I go, "Dude, I think I'd like to market this thing. I think I could do that." And so we just kind of redid the brand. We rebranded everything. We eventually bought the patent from the original company. We did a whole bunch of stuff, retooled, and created I created my product called O2 Armor. And that's the fun part of it, is like searching for a name. Like you're sitting down going, what would be a good name for what I think I'm doing? And I like the oxygen thing, because it's kind of improving your breathing. And I came up with O2 Armor, and actually the logo is the back of a bullet. So if you look at it, it's the back of a bullet. Because initially I was going after that demographic of people who are go to their gun range. And so anyway, that's kind of the history of that. It's kind of fun. But quickly, and then Dan said, "Hey, you should get on Instagram and get do influencer marketing." And so that's what I did about, 4 years ago. I got on Instagram and some other social media, and just started building it out. And so that's where the fun started, because I started meeting people, and they'd repost, they'd buy something, they'd repost. And about 2.5 years ago, I got like a big order from like somebody bought a 50 pack, and then a week later they bought 100, and then another week later they bought 200. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I called the dude up, and he says, "Yeah, we got a weld shop here in Philadelphia. We do high-end exhaust systems, a company called Soul Performance." And he says, "Yeah, we've got about 15 welders. About half the guys use these things like every day. Like they had the reaction you gave me earlier, Rosie, that they love them. They won't go in the shop without them.
Yeah.
Right." And so I go, "Wow, welders." I go, "I know it's a dirty job. So, holy crap." So now I'm like, this is like amazing. I've got a demographic of enthusiastic buyers. So let me explore that. So I just started digging into it, and I started meeting all these amazingly cool people in the industry who are just like super generous. And there's like, "Yeah, I love it, man." I send them a product, and they go, "This is awesome." They do a video for me. I mean, we basically built everything on user-generated content up to this point.
I mean, it's incredible.
That speaks volumes. Hey?
Yeah, and it does. And so it all capped out. So what happened was, I had last year was a big year for us. About, I don't know, February or something like that. One of the welders who had got our product, she tried them out. She did this just kind of silly 10-second video that just like totally, like, it was just well done for a well done little video. And it's like, we just had this huge sales pop. And then we had another one happen a couple months later, big sales pop. And I go, this is like doing the thing. It's like it's starting to land with people. And so I got some, and we also got affiliated with Weld Porn, in pretty deep. In fact, they carry our product on their website, and so that's been really great. They got our stuff on the website, and they've been a steady buyer from us. And whenever they promote anything of ours, of course they get a bunch of sales, but then we would get a bunch of sales. So this was kind of exciting. So last spring, we got got wind of this thing called FabTech and the big welding convention. And I got some counsel from a friend of mine. He says, "Dude, you either got to go big, or you're just going to grow slow like you're doing." And so we just kind of rolled the dice and got our team down there, set up our silly little booth with our 10 by 10 booth. And had a great time. We were literally, it was not for 3 days. It was nonstop people coming to our booth.
Awesome.
Booths around us had nobody showing up, and we had 3 deep all the time.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. We had guys who were dealers, that have, the welding supply houses, and the guys, some of them are saying this is the most important thing they've ever seen, because there's nothing available and we were right next to a PAPR. You know what a PAPR is, the pressurized air mask thing. That's like, it's the gold standard of protection, right? It's what you really should be doing, but they're $3,500.
Yeah.
And so nobody's going to buy them. And, and we're next door to them, and we literally were sucking the air out of the room.
Pun intended. Yeah.
No, seriously. So that was very exciting. It was great for the team to kind of work on our message. And so the funny thing is, the back of our booth said, "Got black boogers," because, and so in prep for, and you laugh at that, but it's just the truth. The funny thing is that on the build up to the Fab Tech, Amy said, "Well, what are your customers saying about it?" Well, I hear 2 things. I wish I'd had it 20 years ago, and I'm glad I don't have black boogers anymore, because everybody knows that the black boogers are just a small quantity of the crap that your lungs are just sucked in, right?
Yeah.
It's and our assistant Jessica, who's Sculpted Roots on Instagram, she's been using them solid for 2 years now, and she said before she would get sinus infections all the time, and wake up in the middle of the night and blow her nose, and it was all gross, and that's completely stopped. So the testimonials we get are just, it's fabulous. Guys are like, just like what you were saying earlier to me, is that I love them,
Yeah.
and that's the stuff we're getting from people.
Well, I tell you, I first heard about them. I was doing an Instagram live with Weston from Salt City Steel.
Yeah, he's a solid dude, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
yeah, I love that guy. Yeah.
And he comes up to the camera, and he's like, "Hey, you ever seen one of these?" And he shows his nose. I'm like, "What, do you got a nose ring in?" Because I've never even heard of it before. He's like, No, this is O2 Armor, man. They're nose filters." I'm like, "What?" He's like, yeah, look. And he brings out a new pair. And he's like, "Yeah, it's like a mesh filter." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like that's such a cool idea." Because I don't know, I try to wear, as a shop teacher, I try to wear a mask when I'm doing everything else, when I'm grinding and welding. We have fume extraction and dust, all that stuff. But I got to talk to kids too, right? I got to instruct them and give them feedback and assess what they're doing and all this stuff. And it was like a light bulb. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I could still talk to kids."
Yeah,
and
you could
right?
still communicate.
And so I ordered a small 10-pack of large just to try. And I put them in, and my students, you got to get over the what's it called? What am I trying to say? Like the
nose ring, the septum ring.
Yeah. Well, not even that. It's just like
they flare your nostrils.
The self-conscious, something's not normal.
Something hanging out of my nose.
Yeah. And so one of my students like, "Mr. Rosen, you got something?" One of my students was like, "Hey, you got something in your nose there," and I was like, "Oh, it's a filter." But I kind of lean into these things, like how Chris Farley. I'm not comparing myself to Chris Farley at all, but he always talked about, I think it was Chris Farley talking about making fun of yourself first, so that it takes the
sting away.
It takes all the energy
right,
off.
Yeah. So I was like, "Hey,
I'm running around with a sunburn thing on my head, and I'm like, I just said, fuck it. I just it's not a big deal. I'm a chemo boy or whatever."
So I just went. So I did. I went up to the kids. I was like, "Hey guys, check these out," and I just leaned into it, and I was like, and they're like, "Wow, that's weird," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, we'll see with how weird it is at the end of class," and sure enough. That day, I did do some grinding that first day. I pulled them out, and I put them on a white piece of paper, next to the clean ones that are white, and they were like black.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. Oh my gosh. Like I just felt, I was like, this is because we talked off air, I guess. We're not on air, but we talked before we hit record, and I was sharing a little bit about how whenever because I taught automotive and auto body as well, probably 5 years ago now, and I'd get sinus infections. Remember that one year I worked with Hoff in the school he's at for a year, and I got like probably 4 sinus infections in a school year
from auto
body. And I didn't think, I was like, what the hell's going on?
Primer dust,
primer, everything.
Right. Yeah.
And it was like bleeding sinus infections.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's horrible. And then because of that, I don't know if you want to call it like some post-traumatic stress or something, but because of that,
the light bulb went on.
Yeah. But every time I would do something outside or work in the shop or whatever, and then I'd blow my nose and they'd be black, and I'd be like,
you kind of almost laugh about it in a way.
well, a little bit.
Being in the wood shop for so long, I'm like, oh, right, brown boogers again.
Yeah.
All right, that's
sawdust boogers. Yeah, it's man glue.
Man glue.
You got in your nose.
Yeah. But then I started really thinking, how much of this is getting into my lungs?
Way more that's coming out.
If my boogers are catching
like
that
most
much,
of it.
Yeah. If my boogers in my nose are catching this much, how much got passed? Because it's not 100% effective. I don't know what the data is on how effective nose hairs and boogers are in catching that shit.
Not very, because it's a straight shot right into your lungs.
Yeah. Exactly.
And what's the filter quality of that? It's probably, you can stick a toothpick up your nose. I mean,
yeah, you do a lot worse. You have kids. I've seen Lego go up there. So, anyways,
yeah, you don't know what they put up there. They put their fingers up their nose.
Yeah.
So
after the first
our
one,
filter. The thing about the filter, we have so there's always a balance of breathability and how much you can get out of it.
Yeah.
And we found the manufacturer found a filter material that blocks 65% efficiency at 2.5 microns.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a lot. That breaks. So you guys have those fires going on up there in Canada right now.
Oh yeah.
Right. So if you have an air quality index, say of 300, and you knock 65% of that AQI off, you're looking at what? 12, 13, 19 and a half, 195 points off 300. So now you're down to like 205 or 105 AQI.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can actually get stuff done.
Yeah.
You'd actually be outside, and it's not going to be that big a deal. It's only 5 packs of cigarettes instead 5 cigarettes a day instead of 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So it's a big deal.
And so then after that first one, I was like, oh my gosh, because I was like, okay, there's got to be. So I pulled my nose filters out. And then I blew my nose, and I did the old wipe around. Nothing.
Wow.
And I was, I just like the relief. I don't know, because I worry about health stuff. Obviously, a lot of people do, but I don't want I don't want to get any sort of lung disease. I want to live and I'm so grateful I found. I'm 37, but I'm grateful I found them now, as opposed to when I'm 60 or
3 years out of retirement.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Shoot. And so I showed my students, and they're like, whoa. And then you got these I got a couple students in my class. One of them was he works in a welding shop. He's like, oh, you couldn't wear that in a shop. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, you just wait. You just watch. You do that. You show them the first time. You show them all the black coming out of that filter, and ask them to blow their nose. It'll be sold.
Get the guy on the grinder all day who's grinding nonstop.
It's crazy. And the welding shop that I supply, Soul Performance, those guys usually use 2 a day because they're just in it all day long. Yeah. And what we found is, even with the shops that I call clean shops that have the air handling machines and like that, I've had welders wear them and they come out absolutely black at the end of the day. Yeah. Those air systems are great. They're just not. They can't cut the whole thing.
Yeah, it's great for fumes.
They sit. Yeah.
but not.
And that's what you need, because our
dust.
product has nothing to do with the gases and the chemicals. This is just the particulate matter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it just is like, you walk through a welding shop and it's like a damn cloud.
Oh,
Yeah.
especially, yeah, I've been in some, it's like you're in Denver, it's like I remember going to Denver one time and it was just smog, and that's what that's what it reminds me of. But I mean, I think it was the second or third time I used them. I put them in and I didn't even touch a welder or a grinder. I was just supervising all class, just walking around and, giving kids feedback and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this isn't going to do much. Whatever. I'll put them in just to see, just to be safe. Take them out, brown. And I didn't even touch a piece of equipment. Yeah. And we have all of the bays in our thing have all fume extraction, and they were all on. And I have like dust collection as much as I can. And sure enough, though, just clean. And then I did the old wipe again, clean as a whistle. And I was like, I'm sold. And I'm going to do whatever I can to support your company, because this is everyone needs this stuff. Everyone needs this stuff.
And we're a small company. I mean, I literally fulfill out of my bedroom office. I got trays of stuff, and I've got my 12-year-old laptop, and I'm printing out labels and sending stuff all over the world. I mean, not just Canada and US, but I got people from Germany and Austria and Kazakhstan ordering these things.
That's so
It's
sweet.
crazy.
It's
awesome. Crazy.
Cliff, you talked about agriculture. I'm just thinking where my two younger kids are going through some allergies and stuff, and I would bet these would eliminate, especially pollen season, a lot of that stuff in the air. I bet this would be a great product to prevent, or it would be interesting to see,
Well, it's absolutely, because how big is a pollen particle?
I don't know.
10, 20 microns?
Yeah.
It'll collect 80 to 90% of those or more.
Yeah.
Maybe 100% of pollen. Pollen are huge.
65% at
2.5 microns. That's stuff you can't even see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So at 10 microns, it's 90% effective, and it just kind of goes up to basically, it just goes up from there, but there's not much to go. Yeah. But a pollen particle is huge. Mm-hmm. But the thing about allergies, I guess, from what I understand, is it's the volume you get. It's not that you just get a little bit. It's like you got a little bit of this, you got a bunch of this, all at the same time, and then your body reacts to it. You get a histamine response. You start getting a runny nose, and then you get a sinus infection.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
It's like done. And so we actually have a rating. If you look at the back of the package, it says UK allergy. UK allergy is one of these groups in Britain that does, it's a nonprofit that tests products for effectiveness. And they gave us an endorsement. That's why we have it printed on the back of the thing. So
that's awesome.
They tested it. They think it's great. So
now I guess a question for the physical, just anything around even my ears. Like I've got custom ear protection, which took me quite a while to get used to. How is it to breathe through? Because having something in my nose, I guess Rosie can speak on this too, and yourself. Is it like, obviously there's going to be something in your nose sealed, but the breathing, like you're saying, the mesh, is it?
So it's pretty thin. It's a electrostatic filter. It does, like anything, it does reduce the airflow. But the thing is, the nasal dilator opens up your sinuses. It actually forces your sinuses open, so you actually get better airflow in that sense. So it overcomes a lot of that. It's not for huffing and puffing. So if you're like exercising, doing like, hard work where you have to end up breathing through your mouth, it doesn't help you much. But in all the in-between times, it's going to be there, because most of our breathing is through our nose for a healthy person. Right. So
you almost need to train to learn to breathe through your nose. If you're a mouth breather, these aren't.
No, it's completely useless.
I forgot.
Some people like that. But
I forgot. I had to train myself to. There's a couple of days where I caught myself. I was like, oh,
Rosie, I don't know about you, but for me, it took a couple of days to get used to it. Now I can wear them all day long, and I don't know they're there. So that's been my experience, and that seems to be a relatively common experience. Every once in a while, you run into somebody who's just like, it like drives them crazy. And but that's pretty rare actually from my experience. But for the most part, you just put them in, and and the results speak for themselves. I mean, at the end of the day, you've done something to protect yourself.
How long can these last? Can you, like, if you're in a mild environment, shop, whatever, are these like daily use? Can they be used for 2 or 3 days? Can you kind of?
It just depends on how loaded up. So what I say, they're designed for single use until damaged or filled up. You can tell. You're not going to want to put one in that's all black and gross, because it's already clogged up. But like when I'm mowing the lawn, I have one that I can use several times in a row until it fills up.
Okay. So I just put one
until
in.
Or if the filter material gets kind of chewed up a little bit, throw it away and get another one, because it just is not going to work as well.
Yeah.
So I just put one in, and I can.
Pretty handsome there.
Hey,
looking
like
good.
You like that?
Can't even tell.
Yeah, it flares your nostrils.
Got a bat in the cave in there.
Yeah, it's a symbol of virility to have that in there, Rosie.
There we go.
There you go. You're turning bright red too right now.
Yeah. Just don't take, if they're black when you take them out, you gotta change your furnace filter.
I got something to work on here. But yeah, so at first there's something foreign in your nose, like straight up. Like you're not gonna get around that. But you can definitely, like, once you get them positioned properly, because sometimes they can like pop up, and then you're breathing, it's just useless. Like if I want, when I was was it the last month of school, I had them in, and then I had to do some grinding, so I put a respirator on, and the tightness of the respirator pushed in, and then they popped like vertical.
Yeah.
And so, And so I was wearing a mask anyway, but like, you just have to get the right size to seal around your nostrils, and
that's why we have that sample pack, which is really nice. It has we have 5 sizes, but the sample pack only has 4.
Yeah.
Small, medium, large, extra large. Most men are large. Most women are small or medium. Sorry, medium. It's kind of the demographic.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to try this product because the sawdust days, MDF, sanding or grinding with the flap disc through live edge material. It gets disgusting. I don't always use a P90 mask, but with this stuff, like you said, and as teachers too, we were talking about, we need to communicate still. If we have a mask over, to be able to take your mask on and off to do instruction, now you've got something that's going to drastically reduce the particulate coming in, and you can still communicate, right? Like I think this is a wicked product, and I'm excited to put this through the ringer.
Yeah, no, and I'm really excited about the feedback you'll get, because you're in it all day. This is your profession. You're in it all day, and that's the kind of people I'd really like to connect with and get their feedback on it, because that's what it drives the conversation. We can reuse some of that on social media and whatnot, and it really helps us out.
I think it's important as well. We're there to, us as teachers, and everyone, it takes a village, right? But we need to start talking about safety, and gone are the days of washing your hands in a parts washer and those types of things. Like I remember when I was in automotive, I was in parts sales, and I was the paint and body shop supply guy. And I went to a trade show, and the guy, one of the reps from SAS, they make those latex gloves. He told me, he's like, if you wash your hands in a parts washer, 30 seconds later, I can trace that, whether it's Varsol or whatever, 30 seconds, you can trace it in your urine. So that's gone through your skin, into your bloodstream, through your kidneys, and out your urine in 30 seconds. So why aren't you wearing gloves?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, because I worked with this guy, and he would just wash your hands in the parts washer and get on with it. And I'm like, so there's this old.
Well, that's the guy that's going to be sick at 60, right?
Well, he was 60 at the time. Like there's like that old, like the couple generations back. It's just whatever. I showed my dad these, and my dad used to be a body man, And I showed him to him. He's like, you know how many black boogers I've blown out, or how much paint fumes I've breathed in, all this stuff. And I was like, well, that's great. That's not good for you. Yeah. So I'm going to be, thank God you haven't gotten, nothing happened, but I'm going to be wearing these. Sorry, but not sorry. He wasn't getting mad at me. He was just saying like, oh my gosh, like back in his day when he was, because my dad how old's my dad? 70 now? When he was, he's 75. When he was in his 20s and 30s, he was working in a body shop, and that was so long ago. None of this stuff was around, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. They probably, I bet you, respirators were probably super hard. That would have taken.
They probably didn't have respirators.
Yeah,
that would have taken time away from the job too. I think in that generation, it was we need to get this work done. Screw safety, right?
Yeah,
we're only doing it for a little bit.
And the chemicals they were allowed to use then were way more horrendous than some of the stuff we're allowed to use nowadays. I mean, it's like, you have low vogue paint and all this other stuff, but still when you're grinding it, you're just sanding, it's still particles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
none of it's good for your lungs.
Primer and like, I worked in a rod shop for about, I think, a year or 6 months after I came back from tech, and I was allergic to the primer dust. I got rashes on my arms, and so no wonder I started getting sinus infections when I was teaching it.
Yeah,
like everyone, and even okay, so take the trades out of this conversation for a minute. Like, you're talking wildfires, right? All the smoke coming out. Like, it's crazy. My furnace filter was clogged from that.
Yes.
And so there's that. And there's people who work in just dusty environments, cleaning.
Even yard work, like you're saying. Work. Cutting the grass.
Right. You're raking the leaves.
Arborists.
All this.
Cutting trees down, everything. Right? Like, this seems like you have not just a trades niche, just as literally you could have these daily.
Every single person on the planet has a set of lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just said exactly the thing that I've been saying for a while is every person on the planet could use the product at least one day a year.
Oh, of course.
Way more than one day a year.
Well, like right? you climb in your attic, you get the Christmas decorations down. There's dust.
That's what I do. My attic is a disaster. There's insulation. There's rodent particles. There's all sorts of stuff up there that you don't want to breathe.
Yeah.
It's a 100-year-old house, and it's got 100-year-old house stuff floating through the air.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Who knows what's in it? There could be asbestos in there, and you don't even know it, right?
Or even today, I was in the garage with my kids, and I just cracked the door a little bit before they came in, and I swept the floor and the dust, and I was like, oh, I should have grabbed those nose filters. You know what I mean? So then you do the old breath hold and pass out, lack of oxygen, and then you're good.
Yeah. Well, it's like that.
In Lethbridge here, we have really bad winds. It is, I think, is it the windiest capital? And
it's one of the windiest cities.
But what's the wind going to blow in, right? What's coming off of the fields? What's in the air, the pollen, like even that stuff. In Lethbridge, you could almost wear these daily, or on a windy day, I guess. And you're probably, I don't know, I might actually try that. Go out and
that'd be interesting to see, and that might be one of those cases where you could wear one for more than one day, because it's it's not going to show much, but you'd have to see. It might be super dusty out, and you take it out, and it's like, oh, this is disgusting.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
Like, I posted a picture on Instagram of the comparison, and it was my mind was blown. I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't understand how this is working, but it is. And this just filtered out a crap ton. Like, look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Jeez.
Yeah, which one was that? That was, I think I saw that.
Yeah, that was the one, where was it? June 15th, I posted it. And
was that from the day that you weren't grinding?
The second one was.
Oh, wow.
It's
not a lot of difference.
That was this one here.
Yeah, that one.
Insane. Look at that.
It's crazy.
That's nuts. That's crazy nuts.
Yeah. So I'm sold. All of that was blocked from my lungs. And that's that's not even a lot. Like, but that's a lot of little particles. And it's not like the shop was foggy or anything, or it's just, it's there. We can't see it and we're breathing it in. And I just couldn't believe it. So I'm sold. You got a lifelong customer here, Cliff.
Well, that's good.
So where are you going from here? What's the next steps? Are you bringing out a line of those, like face mask stuff, or no? I'm just kidding.
No, I think we're going to stick with this. But the big news that we can release now finally, and I released it on Art Junkies also, but Blue Demon American is going to be our national distributor for
awesome.
welding supply stores. So Brian DePaul is the CEO and owner of that company, and he's been a huge help in kind of guiding me and building my business, and super supportive, and he gets it, Yeah. And he's been shopping it out, and so we're gonna hopefully get these into stores. It's going to be a slow run because that resistance you get from just a student or whatever going, oh, what do you want?
Yeah.
That's the same stuff you get from welding store owners.
Really?
And they don't, it's like they haven't gotten it yet. But at some point, I think it's really important for guys like you and your audience, if it is to try it out and then start asking your supply house if they have O2 armor.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, that store, your Lethbridge, you got a welding supply house in Lethbridge.
Yep.
They're probably a chain. There's probably, half a dozen of them or something like that or whatever. And, a bunch of you guys keep going in. Hey, do you got that O2 armor? You guys hear about that O2 armor thing for the nose? And at some point, they're going to take that feedback and go, hey, what's up with this? Mm-hmm. And one of their store managers is going to look us up on the internet. They're going to give us a call, and I'm going to say, yeah, cool, man. We'd love to have you as a customer, and we'll get you in touch with Brian, and he'll hook you up. So that's kind of how the business grows from being, me fulfilling in my bedroom office to having to rent space and hire people because we're so busy.
I'm excited to see where you're going to go with this because, I'm excited to see where O2 Armor is in 5 years, let's say.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to meet you and chat with you in like grassroots time right now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like soon, there's, like you said, it's gonna once that Blue Demon thing gets off the ground, and once you get more people, it's weird sticking something in your nose, sure, but like.
It was weird to put stuff in your ears.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I think it took me about
totally, and Brian and I are both aligned on that. We go, dude, this is just like earplugs. He goes, it's exactly the same thing.
Yep.
And it's going to be a slow burn, but it doesn't have to be if we can get our friends out there, your audience, and our friends on our audience to start asking their supply houses, hey, do you have this? Can you get it for me? Because I'd much rather have them buy it from their supply house than, pay the shipping and stuff like that for me.
Yeah.
Right. So when you order something from Canada, it's almost $18 for just me to ship it to you.
Yeah.
But
if you can just buy it at your store, it's just there. It's ready for when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think when I got, I think it was in my second year trade school. I got a set of DB blocker, the custom earplugs that kick in under certain decibels, and they actually inject this like foam into your ear. So they take a mold, and make them and stuff. And I remember it took me probably 3 to 4 weeks to get used to those. They came with like a little ear lube that you had to put some like lube jelly on it so they would go into your ears, and that was almost a month of going through that. So I feel like something like this, it might be maybe 2 or 3 days max.
Yeah,
but look at the benefit. Just like hearing protection, I think your breathing and your lungs should be right up there with hearing protection.
You can still breathe if your hearing is gone. You can still live if your hearing is gone. If your lungs go,
you're toast,
right? And that's I'm just like, man, get this out.
Look at how many non-smokers get lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot of non-smokers who get lung cancer. It's a thing, and COPD and all the other stuff. I mean, it's all environmentally driven. So,
well, even getting back to our conversation about pollen, I'm just on your Instagram, and someone posted. You guys shared a photo of side by side, one that had been full of pollen and one that wasn't. And it's like yellow.
Is that the yellow one? Yeah, that was.
That's crazy.
That's my friend Josh, and Josh works for a company. He's a foreman for a crew that does maintenance of cemeteries. So they're a commercial maintenance company, and every spring they're weed eating the dandelions and all the weeds and stuff. And he says it's just like a cloudy yellow. Jeez. And he's like, spends the whole day sneezing, and he's like totally allergic to it. He wears the O2 armor, and he's a customer of ours too. Yeah. And he wears the filters all day long, and that's what he gets out of them. I mean, that's the stuff that goes in your lungs. So you're talking about, was it your child that has
allergies? Yeah.
It would be fun to see. It would be interesting to see what their experience is going to be. Mm-hmm. But you have to put them in before you start having a runny nose. Yes, that's the one thing.
Got to be proactive instead of reactive, right?
Yeah.
If you go outside and your nose starts running, it's too late. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because then you're gonna have the filter filled with boogers, and you don't want that snot and everything. It's gross. Ask me how I know. But yeah, yeah. So getting back to the allergy thing. So I have a big yard. I got 2 acres. I got about 1.5 acres to mow in my yard, and it gets dry this kind of time of year, and there's the seeds start putting a little pollen and dust and whatever. Last summer I went out, I got 100 feet mowing, and I started to react. I go, oh crap. And I went into the house. I went and got my O2 armor and put it in, and it stopped it in its tracks. And I finished the whole job. There's dust flying everywhere, and had no problems whatsoever. And it came out brown, at the end of the session.
Wow.
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Nuts.
You can't put a price point on this.
No, you can't. Really? And I think that what we sell it for, I mean, it's the best price I can give it right now. We haven't raised the price. We didn't even have to raise the price in COVID. So that's been good. Our supplier's been kind of holding it down. And so we've been very fortunate for that so far. And, it's a 10 pack's $11 in US dollars. And your 50 pack is what, $47.99, so $48.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cheap, cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, with better lasting effects than a cup of coffee, because that's probably worn off after an hour.
Yeah, if
that.
It's cheap insurance, man.
Which is why I need 8 cups of coffee a day, because you got to.
You got to spread it out, eh?
Yeah, you got to spread it out.
What's the craziest or most unique place you've seen someone wear these, or like job or something? I never thought about using it there, or that type of situation.
That's a good question. Well, my assistant Jessica, she used them one time. She was wearing a full respirator, and she wore the O2 armor under it. And she was doing powder coating. What color do you think the filters look like when she was done? At the end of the day, they're completely coated black. They were completely logged, and this is with a real, no kidding, like sealed respirator with a little filter packs and everything, and the damn thing leak.
Really?
So that was the one that was the biggest. That was the biggest shock to me, was when you use it in conjunction with either mandatory or required filters in other areas. Just keep wearing the O2 armor, because it will pick up what leaks past whatever leaks. And then of course there's people with big beards. Yeah. They can't wear anything effectively. Mm-hmm. That's probably the craziest thing I've seen so far, but mostly it's tradespeople. I've had people do painting. That's an excellent question. What I'm going to do with that, Rosie, is I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. And when I start, that gives me a clever, angle is later on is, hey, what's the weird ones that weird places people use them, and just kind of go with that with a post or something like that. Yeah. It's fun to see that.
I think that'd be great.
Oh, I was in the basement dealing with rat poop and
Yeah.
mice. It's like, and I had my mask on and blah blah blah, and I got out of there and took a shower, blew my nose, and the filter was just completely disgusting. Even though I had all, it's like there's something like that's going to come up.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
100%. I don't know. I'm excited for you. This is really cool. There's it's so many uses, and that can, that post or whatever you're just thinking about, that'll help people know that, okay, I don't have to, this isn't just a trades thing. This is a human thing.
Wear this when you cut the grass or weed eat.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yes.
Right? You could potentially not have to be stuffy.
Or hell, when you're cleaning your car out and you're vacuuming
it. Yeah. People clean houses and dust, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wear it cleaning the house sometimes because I'm vacuuming and it's like it's raising dust and I'm it's gross. You're kind of blowing off the stuff off the books in this bookshelf and it's like, dude, what? Living in a pigsty or something like that. But Jesus, just dust, and you don't want to breathe that stuff. Pets too, pet dander. A lot of people are really allergic, and so if I know I'm going to be in a place that's got a lot of hairy pet, I have a short-haired cat, doesn't bother me, but long-haired cats and a lot of dogs just knock me on my ass. So I'll wear them. I'll wear the filters, but I do it before I go there, and you have them on before you go into the site.
Yeah,
it's always the recommendation. So take them off put them on when you get out of your truck, and take them off when you get out of the truck. You go back in the truck, right, and you go home.
Throw them on when you get out of the shower. Throw them out before you go in the shower.
Exactly. Right. You could wear them in the shower if you wanted to. If it was that bad, I don't know what's on you, but it's nuts, man. How useful they are. Mm-hmm. My in-laws wear them when they fly.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because there is some level of virus protection. Because any kind of virus is going to cling to a water droplet, and water droplets are huge. Mm-hmm. So it'll hit the filter and stick to the filter. And when you blow out your nose, breathe out your nose, most of that will go away. So it should help reduce that flow. It's not going to stop you from getting sick, probably, but everything's at volume gain. Mm-hmm. So when somebody's getting any kind of like the flu or a cold, it's because they've gotten a lot of virus into their sinuses and it just grows up there. Right. And so if you can reduce the amount of virus getting into you, your chances of getting sick goes down. There's no way for us to know what that is.
Yeah.
But it's just part of the physics of the product. Is like, it's a condensation particle that, stuck to a water droplet, and water droplets are big. So
yeah.
Good for parents then. Kids sneezing in your face.
Teachers.
Oh my God.
Elementary school teachers.
Geez, yeah. There's a good market.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kindergarten teachers.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. You get in the weeds on medical stuff pretty quick. But,
no kidding. Question about what was the uptake, or I'm just curious about when you were, because this business started before COVID.
Yes.
What, like, I know you said like it's an extra layer of protection. It's not going to necessarily stop you from getting sick, but the more barriers you have in front of yourself and that virus, did you see an uptake because were people just scrambling? Because I remember 3M had a shortage of P95.
Yeah. So initially when right after COVID started, I started getting a spike, and then it petered out once the availability of the masks, which have been shown to be highly ineffective in the post-mortem of all this. Once that availability of masks, the mask mandates, it got really slow. But then that's about the same time, after a whole summer of pretty dry and not selling much, that's when the welders started. That's when I started. About that time is when I linked in with the welders. So the timing couldn't have been more perfect to have a new avenue of people to talk to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was just thinking too, of just looking at your website here, and it talks about construction, like the guys who flip houses or do the demo crews, and
all that
stuff, everything,
any trades, all of them.
Yeah.
Guys who are tilers, anybody who does drywall, the bricklayers, structural steel welders, steel construction, concrete people. I mean, it's just not, it's like, as you said, it's just not limited. It's just, it's the whole gamut of the trades. And, elevator mechanics, they're always in some hellhole somewhere digging out something, all of them. So
unbelievable.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that our listeners, I hope we've kind of, I hope people give it a shot, because it might seem weird at first.
I will be this week.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to give these a shot.
Hoff will stick a couple in his nose.
Yeah, maybe we can roll around in a couple weeks and do a post appraisal, and we can talk more about how how it affected you.
Let's do it. Yeah, because you're working right now with a lot of epoxy
And wood, so lots of dye. I spent all day sanding today.
Yeah.
So I mean,
exactly.
So now,
that's
and I had one of those masks on, which I typically don't wear, just one of those razor ones, which actually really helped. So I'm excited to see this, because being so hot here, I think it was like 31 or 32 Celsius, and I was just leaking with that mask on. So being able to have a layer of protection and not have
and you'll see the difference if the product you're sanding has got a color to it, it's going to show up in the filter.
Yeah,
it will, because everywhere you got a little leak, that's air goes to least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Just like water, it's just going to, if you have any kind of occlusion in the seal, it's going to go right through there.
Yeah.
And you'll see that if you're doing like drywall or something like that, and you're wearing a dust mask, which you should do also, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a layer. And then if you're wearing the O2 armor, it'll pick up the last bit. You'll see the streams of gypsum on your cheeks, because that's where the air flowed. It brought those huge particles and small particles of gypsum into your lungs through that way. There's just no way to get a good seal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And these are great. So there's the filter. Is that silicone or
it's some kind of medical grade plastic is what the manufacturer tells us.
And it's really flexible.
Yeah. And it fits to various shapes of nostrils. And it also flares out your nostrils a little bit to be proper fit. So then you get that dilation. It opens up your sinuses quite a bit.
And you can breathe better with them in.
You actually can breathe better up with them.
Yeah, more flow.
And you could wear, if you have like any kind of, we also have a product without the filter that helps with snoring.
What's that? What's that called? Is that this
Breeze?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's on our website. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on there right now. We'll link all this in the show notes for sure.
And you can also just take the filter out of the O2 armor and, pop it out and use just,
Yeah. Oh, and
cut it out and use it as a dilator too. That works.
And there's a wine tumbler.
You can do it. Yeah. That's probably going to go away. I'm switching websites to Shopify in a couple months, or probably soon. And so, we'll see how it's fun to have some other merch in there, but it's like freaking expensive. It's like $28 for a wine tumbler. And it's like, that's, I'm not making any money on that.
Yeah.
So, but they're nice. I mean, it's kind of cool. There's all these companies that'll just kind of do single piece custom units and then ship it,
Yeah. That's
it's actually kind of cool.
That's what we're looking for too, to kind of get into that. The
merch thing,
on demand stuff.
Yeah. That's what that is. That's a on demand thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't have that in inventory. It's just you put it in and it goes to them.
That's cool.
They run it. They put it in their little computer machine and does this little zappy doodle, and they ship it off.
These are all technical terms, everybody. You don't need to understand.
Zappy doodle.
Yeah,
zappy doodle. That's a great one.
That's nomenclature. Don't worry about that. Did you get a chance to chat with because you bought the patent and you bought the product off someone else when it didn't fly? It was must have been before its time. Did you get a chance to talk to the developers or the previous owners of it to see how did it come to be? What the story was behind it?
Well, the story I haven't personally, but Dan, the guy I mentioned, he's known these people for a long time, so he knows the story. It was developed by a contractor in Phoenix, and Phoenix is hotter than the Hades, and nobody's going to wear a mask anyway. But he just came with the idea and went with it in the hope that he could his guys would wear it, and that was the impetus for creating it. So it has its roots in blue collar, the trades, right, there you go. There's your woodworkers, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Construction guys.
I think that's so cool.
So,
and you could go, I mean, man, you could fill up your schedule with every single trade show, and like there's all the makers, all that maker movement, right?
it's insane.
And you could
And
go
eventually
to
we're gonna,
SEMA, and you could go to, like you said, FabTech, and all these, everything.
Yeah, we're going to be at FabTech again in September. So we have a booth. We're pretty excited about that too. It's a 4-day event this time instead of 3. We expect just as much great attention because people are just like, whoa, what? It's going to be a new crowd, and hopefully we'll get to see a lot of people, and Blue Demon's there too, and they're going to be talking to a lot of people. So I think things are just going to start jiggling and moving forward really well for us and for the community. I really, honestly, if it comes down to it, I really just want people to feel better, and do better. It's like, and if I can do it by providing a product that helps them out, and that's a win for me, and yes, we'll make some money from it, but that's not the point. The point is to take care of people. The point is to have something important to do, that we all should have something important to do. Yeah, and I think this is super important.
Yeah.
When it came to be available to me, it was like a freaking light bulb, man. I go, this is something I can absolutely get behind because I absolutely believe it. It's weird. And here's the thing about things in life, enterprise, any kind of like product or whatever, weird stuff is interesting to people.
Yeah.
It just simply is. And it's interesting to me. And if it's interesting to me, then it's going to have to be interesting and helpful to somebody else. And it's been the best part of this has been engaging in the community that's arrived at our doorstep, basically the welding community, super nice people. You go to FabTech and it's like a family reunion, and you're meeting all the people that you've contacted on Instagram, and now they're humans and they're right in front of you, and they're like, oh, you have a beer with them and you hang out, and so that's been the really rewarding part. And it just, I'm a kind of an extroverted guy anyway, and so it totally feeds me. So
for sure.
And I just love it when people come and say, man, I've used these things, they're fabulous. I go, man, I'm so glad, because I just want people to have a better future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
and if we can do a little bit, if anything we can do for that is good.
Yeah. Are you going to try to get to SEMA?
That's right after FabTech, isn't it?
It's in November, yeah. But that's all your auto body and automotive and all that stuff?
Yeah. I made this year, I might just go as an attendee.
Yeah.
I've got to, because these trade shows are pretty awesome. They're also a pretty significant investment. You have to hire a team, you got to stay, you got to
and time investment and money.
time investment and money.
Yeah.
So our big deal has been FabTech. We went to another one in Florida in March that was sort of it was kind of a commercial failure, but it was a win for our team, because I brought all the team down there, and we got to coalesce on our message and our just knowing each other, and then working with Brian was there too. Blue Demon was there, and so was Fronius and a couple other places, and there was nobody showed up to look at our stuff. It was kind of a total bust, but all the people in this group, which was kind of the community I've been talking about, we just hung out and, had built beer coolers and the cornhole. We had a cornhole thing, and
nice.
And we just had a fun time getting to know each other. And so it was in that case, it was an absolute knockout win, because it was just good for us. And then it was so bad. It was so bad on Sunday, we decided to pitch strike our tent and go to the beach for the day. So we turned it into a junket. So
there you go.
Yeah, it was totally great.
That's awesome.
So we all got sunburned a little bit, but it was fun. We had a great time. So
I was just thinking, even those guys who like burnout competitions are big now. Like all that
rubber particle.
Yeah, all the rubber smoke. Oh man, there's everything.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So you guys going to try to get down to FabTech?
I would like to. My
Probably
wife.
in school.
Yeah, well, it'd be the first week of school,
Uh-huh.
but it'd be a really great professional development opportunity. And I
Yes.
know a couple guys I think that are from here that are going, and
Hmm.
so I don't know. Well, I'm gonna see, or either that or SEMA would be a little later. I have my wife and I have a 10-month-old. We have 3 kids, but we have a newer one, and so leaving and going to a conference might be a little tough because my wife's going back to work in September too. She's also a teacher.
Yeah.
However, I want to get I want to get there. I'm not sure if it's going to happen
Hmm.
this year, but yeah. Either way, we'll cross paths. I'm sure at FabTech at
Yeah,
some point.
it's worth going to. We're sponsoring we're sponsoring the pre-party at Hard Rock Cafe on Sunday the 10th. So that's part of we're a group of like a dozen of us doing that. So it'll be a good time.
We should go.
Is this September?
Yeah, make it a junket, guys. Make it a junket.
September 10th.
Yeah.
We'll look into it. I know there's a couple. I know there's some people locally, a couple of our suppliers that are going,
Uh-huh.
and so yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see about that. I would
Yeah.
love to, but I think it'd be a great, like I said, a great PD opportunity, and I could just get. That would be a good time to go though, because that's like safety week, right? I mean, when they're and safety and theory stuff, so it'd be a good time to get a sub called in because they could. Either way, well, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, look into it because it was I could not believe the technology and the stuff that was there, laser welders and robots and different kinds of welding materials and copper-based welding materials and all this weird stuff. I mean, I'm totally geeking out on a little backstory. My college degree is in metallurgy, so
Oh, awesome.
my degree is metallurgical engineering. So I'm like, but I didn't do much in the welding world except for we would see, we would cut apart failed welds and see what was going on. That's a fascinating piece of science right there. You can see all the inclusions and all the stuff you guys talk about.
100%.
You can see it. But anyway, there's a lot of that. So I'm always interested in all that kind of stuff.
So what can we talk a little bit about your degree?
Yeah.
So what so you got this degree in metallurgy. What did you do with it, and what was some highlights of that? That's fascinating to me.
So I didn't specifically do anything with it, and the reason is because I went right into the Air Force to flight school.
Right.
But when I was a safety officer and an accident investigator, it definitely came into handy there because when you're looking at a failed part or something like that, then to me, I could speak to the reason why that, whether it was cyclic deformation or explosive deformation or, weld failure or whatever. I mean, and then I had some experience and knowledge in those terminologies. So I did a little bit of that, but overall, pretty much not much because the military just wants you to have a degree. And that's what I was interested in college. And you want to always have sort of a backup plan,
Yep, absolutely.
Or a future plan in this case.
Or a future plan, right? So, and the thing about being in aviation is that you're one physical away from not being able to fly again, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of medical problems that general pop can have, which takes you out of flying, but it doesn't mean you can't do anything. You're not really disabled. It's incompatible with being a pilot, right? So it's an industry where you always have to have sort of another thing you can do, always.
What's being a pilot like?
Well,
kind of an open-ended question, but
it's an open-ended. It's difficult to answer that. The lifestyle is I travel, of course. Mm-hmm. My typical week is a 3 or 4 day trip where I leave my home. I live in Seattle, near Seattle. I fly to Oakland to start my flying. And then I do a 4-day trip wherever it's scheduled. And when I'm done, I fly home. But the cool thing about the job, it's just like your guys' job, other than maybe grading some papers or whatever, you leave your work at work. And when you go home, you don't have work.
Yeah.
So a lot of office people, they go home and they're like studying and they're getting, stuff done and they're, I don't have that. My time off's my time off. I work by the hour and I get paid by the hour, and it's all that stuff you guys know all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been in the trades, you understand being in a union and whatnot. The job itself, we're heavily trained, heavily regulated, and very, very standardized. So the nice thing is that the guy I fly with, I may never seen him, but very likely have never seen them before, ever flown with them before. But we're so standard in our procedures that he can get in the seat and will perform exactly the way to the standard is, and I can count on that. Mm-hmm. And the other cool thing about our industry is we have a very active, if we make a mistake and there's a way to report that to us, there's a system you can report that to, and then they analyze the error and to see if it's like, a systematic problem, like maybe the procedure's wrong or whatever. So they can do it. They can create a new procedure to try to prevent that error from happening again. So it's a really, if you want to see something that's increased aviation safety in the most significant way, is probably that system. And it's one that many industries could use. Even welders could use it. Mm-hmm. I made a mistake on this bead I was laying down, and you could write. Then people will know about. It's like an instructional. It can be an instructional thing too. Mm-hmm. So interesting. There's a lot of safety things that go on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially in aviation. Like when you. Yeah. I'm assuming you're flying like commercial airliners now. Is that what?
Yeah, 737s.
So when you first got into one of those big things, like not just training, but just like your first reel with people in the back, what was that? Yeah. What was that like?
Well, you take on a pretty big responsibility. I think that the thing I like to do is to do, Jason always says, make every weld better than your last. I like to make every landing better than my last. So I turn everything I like to turn stuff into a contest. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like I have a personal contest. Well, I want to make this one better. What am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to adjust here, and here, and okay, that turned out good.
Yeah.
So that keeps you in excellence. You want to be in excellence. There's no such thing as perfection. Yeah. Perfection is something you should never be shooting for. You should be always shooting for excellence, mastery of everything, right? Mastery of what you're doing. And so that's the important thing of the aviation community is you start off as a first officer, and that's where you kind of get all your training until you upgrade to captain. And that's where you become a master of your craft. So, welders have apprentices. We have first officers, right?
Okay.
So it's the same sort of system. So you have an apprentice, and you got your, he's handing your welding rods, and he's looking at, oh, can I try it out, boss? Yeah, you can work this bead, this one, And so you're training them up into becoming a master. They're not a master until they've got, 10, 15,000 hours at something, right? So that's kind of how it works.
I just couldn't imagine. Just knowing. But I was thinking about that while you were, as I was asking the question. At that point, you're probably so trained up. It's just extra cargo at that point. Not to diminish the importance of carrying humans, but at the same time, it probably tough to get in your head about it because you're just flying this thing you've flown a billion times.
Right. Well, yeah, that's kind of a hard question to answer, but it's like anything. In order for you to succeed and to be safe, you have to kind of be focused on the mission that you're at hand right now. Mm-hmm. And so if the passengers in the back are having a breakdown, and there's somebody having a fight, or, the flight attendants are having a problem or whatever, you basically have to just focus on getting the airplane on the ground. And when we have, and that's you can't let that distract you, because you might end up going to an airport where the visibility is 300 feet. 300 feet is the length of a football field. Mm-hmm. That's hardly anything, for in the air when you're doing 180 miles an hour. And so when you pop out of the clouds, you can't be distracted by stuff. You have to be able to focus exactly at the point you're going to land. You can't. You just get to the point where you don't let that stuff bother you.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same thing with stuff from home. You don't want to bring any of that to you. You don't want to bring that to work with you.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and that's true with probably any of us.
Yeah, 100%.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
But
it is easier said than done because we're just people, right? We're not robots, we're just leaders in what we're doing. And
although I do feel like a robot sometimes when I'm trying to remind myself to not mouth breathe with these things in.
Oh, there you go.
Because I have them in, and just getting back to the O2 Armor, I have them in, and it doesn't feel like my nose is plugged, but maybe subconsciously, like I'm thinking it is, so I'm breathing out of my mouth more.
Well, and it does slightly restrict the air a little bit.
But I have to train myself to consciously breathe through my nose and know that it's being filtered. And I don't know. It's awesome. Cliff, I could talk to you all day about this. I'm a big time believer in your product. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. And is there anything, as we kind of wrap up the show here, is there anything you kind of alluded to, you mentioned some, like the Blue Demon thing. Is there anything else you'd like to promote or talk about or get out there as we kind of wrap the show up?
I just encourage people. First of all, I want to thank you guys for having me on your podcast. But I'd like to encourage people to be totally open to trying new things in everywhere in your life. And this might be something that serves you well. Our goal is for people to be served by something that's going to help them breathe better and breathe longer. I mean, it's just what we hope people do. The other thing is any opportunity you guys have out there in the audience to talk with your supply house, whoever that might be, I'd love to have the contact. You get me a good contact and you're going to get a shirt or a pack of, I'll send you something. Right. So
yeah,
I'm pretty happy about that. I like sending gifts. So, we'll hook you guys up. So, the audience out there, just ask for your stores and put pressure on them.
Yeah.
Cause they move. These stores are glacial in their decision making. It's like,
I like that. Yeah. Glacial.
Glacial is such a good word. It's so slow. It takes months for them to decide that, a good idea is a good idea. Yeah. Because they're always, they're in a kind of a state of like, they're just kind of in a state of fear or something. I don't know what the word is commercially, but of risk averse. They're risk averse. Yeah, and so it's like, oh, well, if I buy into this thing, I might be stuck with it. But, your customers are going to start wanting it. It's going to be a slow roll. But, 100%. Yeah.
Well, Cliff, thanks so much for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it. I know I've learned a ton, and I was just super excited having used the product. I'm super excited, and I don't know, Hoff seemed to learn a lot.
Turning around here, I wasn't a big fan of putting something in my nose, but now after chatting with you, Cliff, and Rosie explaining some of even just the I think the visuals for me, I'm like, how can I not wear stuff now? Whether it's at the school, if I'm doing something dusty at home, whatever. Yeah. It seems very beneficial. So thank you.
Yeah. Your health is your choice.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, yes, it is.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's not my choice. It's your choice. So you can choose. You can choose it. Yeah. You can choose to do it or not. That's up to you. And where else does it show up in your life? So it's important. It's important to us to show up and take care of ourselves.
100%. Yeah. Well, on that note, Cliff, thank you so much again for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. And just as we end here, where can people find you?
Hey, check us out on o2armor.com. We even have it linked for the Canadian spelling of armor, which is the wrong way, but that's okay. But O2 Armor, ARMOR.
Oh, you are? You have the Canadian spelling?
Armor.
Nice.
Yeah, the incorrect Canadian spelling. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me how you really feel, Cliff. I feel like you're holding back.
Hey, we're just brothers from the same mother. So
exactly. Yeah. Right on. And then on their website, I'm on it right now. We'll link to it in the show notes, everybody. But it's a really good website. It's got a lot of information, and all their links to social media is on there too. Yeah. We'll provide that all as well. But yeah,
follow us on TikTok and Instagram. TikTok is becoming a bigger player for us. We had one go totally viral on us in March. That was just absolutely crazy. We had 1,500 orders in like 3 days just from that one TikTok. And you can go look at it. It's pinned. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. It's 6 seconds of idiocy, and it just and it really. I don't know how these algorithms pick these things and just toss them out in the world, but it just attracted all these. It's still bringing people in.
Jeez.
So it's super important. We appreciate people following us. That would be a great deal, and helps our algorithms, I guess, and
Yeah, I guess buzzword.
Yeah, no, that's what all the buzzwords are. I don't totally understand that.
Yeah,
I know having more friends is better.
yeah. Just in general, and in life,
general,
yeah.
having more friends is better. It's better.
Yeah. And that's the incorrect American spelling of better, isn't it? Better.
Better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's even. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left
And
hook.
you use that, and you guys use. Oh, the other thing about being a pilot, we get to use that weird measuring system of temperature too. So 31 degrees. I understood what that was.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I know.
Because I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit at all.
Is that like
So 28 is 82.
Yeah.
Okay. And 16 is 61.
Ah.
So that's where they two match up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if it's 82 degrees out Fahrenheit, it's 28 Celsius. So when you say 31, that's probably about, I don't know, 92 degrees or something like that, somewhere around there.
We were 40 the other day.
That's hotter than Hades, man. That's 102.
Yeah, I posted it on
Jeez.
it was the temperature that my Jeep said it was outside is 40. I posted it on their story. I was like, this is nuts. This is Canada.
Yeah.
And it's just nuts.
Yeah, no, I spent 5.5 years in Minot, so I know what you guys is cold, windy, and hotter than hell in the summer and freezing in the winter. So
in Minot, what were you doing there?
North Dakota, don't you know? Hey?
Yeah, don't you know? Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Just a hop,
we used to go
skip, and a
we
jump.
we used to hang out in Saskatoon all the time.
Saskatoon's a fun place.
It is a good town.
Yeah, they have some really cool pubs, and there's like rooftop stuff. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, this would have been back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Long time
Still,
ago.
it's a good town.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cliff, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and all the links we'll put in the show notes, and where you can find Cliff and O2 Armor and everything they have going on. Just once again, encourage everyone to go. Just give it a shot, give it a try. Your mind will be blown of how much crap got saved from entering into your lungs.
Yeah.
And if that's just one day, and how long is your career? Just think about that for a second.
And order a sample pack from our website. So if you're in Canada, we have to charge you a little bit for postage. It's $5.50. In the US, it's $4 and free postage for a sample pack.
Oh, awesome!
So that's a good way to try it out. It's the cost of a cup of coffee now, and again, there's that word coffee.
And then,
but
in the sample pack, it's got all the sizes too, so you can figure out what size you need.
Yeah, it has four of the main sizes, and you can dial in what's perfect for you,
yeah.
And then you'll know what you can order. If you like it, then you know what to order.
Oh yeah, 100%. All right. So, well, thanks again, Cliff, and thank you everyone for listening. Once again, all the links are in the description. Thanks, Hoff.
Thanks, Rosie.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one.